Okay. All right, so again, we're doing 2-5, and we're gonna kind of jump around a little bit. I want you to notice that 2-5 is basically the same as 2-4. I just now have imaginary numbers involved, so we're gonna have eyes as part of our answers, okay? So one thing I want to bring about or remind you of, these were the steps that we talked about yesterday when we talked about finding zeros. First thing you want to do is try and factor it. And then if you can't factor it, then we look at our PRRs. We figure out which one of those works, and then we use synthetic division to factor that down to divide it. And then we kind of go back to the beginning. So you can even think of like my next step, step 4, is look to factor or quadratic formula again. Very, very rarely will we have to go do PRRs for a second time, but that could happen. So that's why I kept it there as an option. Okay, so if you have those steps, you can keep those. I may rewrite them over here while we do them. Actually, probably not yet, because I gave you like a hint on these first couple. These first ones say use the given 0 to find the other 0. So this is like if I say hint, here's one of them that I know works. Pencil is a bunch. So here's one that I know works. So I already gave you the one that works, and we'll just start from there. So instead of looking to factor, instead of looking at my PRRs, we just go directly to synthetic division, okay? We're gonna warm up with this one, and then we'll again kind of jump around after that. So I'm gonna start with my synthetic division. I'll put 2 in the house. I'll put all my little coefficients up front. And then we should be pretty good at synthetic division at this point, so I'll let you work through that. And because I told you x equals 2, that means that that is one of my zeros. And if you do not get 0 as your remainder, you did something wrong. So my polynomial that I got from here was x squared minus 4x plus 3. Okay, now we go back and we say, okay, can we factor this? When we go out quadratic formula this, what's going on? Can you factor this pretty easily?
Yeah.
I think so, yes. What would it be? X minus 1, x minus 3, very good. You do x minus 3, x minus 1, I don't care what order it's in. So that means that I have zeros at x is 1 and x is 3. Those are my answers, that's it. That being said, do not forget the 0 that was given to us. That also counts as a 0. So my zeros here, my x equals 2, 1, and 3. Those are my answers. Okay. Now, if you notice the next one, it has an I in there. I want to cover that at the end of class, but I did not put one like B or C on the quiz, so we're just going to skip that for right now, okay? Let's just jump down here. We're actually going to skip all the way to number 3. Because number 3 says find all the zeros. That is just like what we were just doing in 2-4, and that's really similar to what we just did now. Again, if you want to rewrite your steps, now might be a good place to rewrite them. So our steps, first thing we do is factor. Second thing we do is, anyone remember second thing we do? PRR, very good. Once we find a PRR that works, what do we do? Synthetic division, good, you guys are killing it. And then once we've done synthetic division, we go back to the beginning and we factor. And then what's another tool that we could use? Good, quadratic formula. We're getting to the point that you guys have so many math skills and so many math tools that sometimes we forget all the tools that are in your toolbox. We got a lot of different tools that we can use. Okay, and so that's what we're going to do here. I think we'll do A and B. C is pretty similar, so we'll worry about that tomorrow just for sake of timing. And then we'll go back and do some stuff that's not on the quiz. But problems like A and B are fair game for the quiz tomorrow. Okay, so let's do it. First thing I do is look to see if I can factor it. I've got x to the third plus 4x minus 5. Can't factor that. I want to just show you really quick. That's an x to the third. Sometimes we get so like caught up and we're like, oh, it's x squared. I can factor it, or I can quadratic formula. No, it's a cube. It's not a square, and you can't do any of those things. So instead, I got to go to my PRRs. So let's go list our PRRs. Do you remember what numbers I look at to list my PRRs? Good, the constant and the coefficient, good. So the constant is my last number, so I'm looking at -5. What are factors of -5? 1 and 5. And then what's my leading coefficient? 1. What are factors of 1? 1. Good.
It's a P or Q, so.
P over Q. So constant over leading coefficient.
When you write the numbers, you can write this one because it's in the beginning.
Don't worry about the negative, because we'll do plus or minus in general. And then I know this might feel like a silly step, because now I'm gonna say my final answers, I'm looking at plus or minus 1 and plus or minus 5. But every so often there may be a number in front, and if I have a number like 2 as my leading coefficient, I'm gonna have a 2 in the denominator that I'm gonna have to deal with too. We haven't done that yet, but that could be coming up in the pipeline, so that's what then you would divide it. Yeah, so if this was a 2, we'd have to divide 1 by 2 and 5 by 2. But because we've only had 1s, anything divided by 1 is just itself, so that's why it feels like a silly step. Okay, now that I have a list of PRRs, we gotta start checking them. So I said Maggie's already got her calculator out, she's like ready to go. She's plugging in. I don't need to see this step, but this is the step I'm putting on the calculator. You don't have to write it, but this is what I'm doing. I'm gonna do 1 to the 3rd plus 4 times 1 minus 5. Does it work?
Yeah.
Yes, amazing. Okay, I won't even get my calculator out. I trust you. And how do you know it works? It works with synthetic division. And what did you say, Denaya?
You get 0.
You get 0 at the end. Good. So it works when we get 0. And you can either do synthetic division or plug it in. If you haven't done synthetic division yet, now we got to do that. So now I'm going to get my synthetic division out. And we're going to do 1 is in the house. And when I do it, don't forget to hold a place for that x squared term. So I've got 1x to the 3rd, I have 0x squared, 4x, and then -5. That's the most common mistake, is that we lose that 0. You gotta hold that place for that number that's not there. Okay. And then you guys know how to synthetically divide. I apologize for my trash handwriting for, I don't know how many days in a row now. The Apple Pencil still won't work, so. I think it's losing its Bluetooth connectability, because it'll work and then it just stops working. Yeah, we're gonna go with it. I need to talk to the people in technology, but every time I go down there, it'll work for them, and so then I walk away and I look crazy, and I just not into it today, so. Maybe tomorrow I'll be more willing to look crazy, but today. I think they do. They're really nice. They really like technology. But don't you hate when you have a problem and then they go down there like, did you turn it off and turn it back on? And you're like, how much money do you make to just tell me to turn my device off? Like, and then it always works for them. So then again, I look crazy. But I do everything that they tell me to. Anyway, we're distracting from the topic. But now I get here. What do I do next? Factor. Can I factor that? Nah, what else can I do? Quadratic formula. Can we quadratic formula this?
Yeah.
Absolutely. A, B, C. -1 plus or minus 1. B, negative B plus or minus square root B squared minus 4AC. And all of that's over 2A. -1 plus or minus square root of 1 minus 4 times 1 times 5, all over 2 times 1. -1 plus or minus 1 minus 20 over 2. All right, and then we know we know that negative under the radical means I. So I've got -1 plus or minus I, and I cannot simplify root 19 anymore. I can't cancel that 2. I can't do anything. That looks ugly, but I actually like those answers better because I don't have to clean anything up. It's good as it is. This is my 0. And because it has a plus or minus, it technically counts as 2 zeros. Do not forget to list the 0 that's that 1 that we got from doing synthetic division as well as this one. So let me just zoom in so I can write what my zeros are up here. Technically, these are my zeros.
We're writing them, do you want us to put x equals, or can we just put like?
You could just put them, I think the best method is if they are what x equals, so I'll write that, but it's not incorrect if you don't write it. All right, I think you guys have enough skill. Can you try B on your own?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll touch base with you halfway through, I promise. I probably should take attendance. I'm so bad at that. I think we're all here though. The hint is you have to use PRRs at the beginning. Letter B, turn your paper over, do the next one. Are we missing anyone? I think we're all here today.
What do you press to go back on the calculator? And just what you want?
Great question. Let me get it going really quick. Second enter. So Millie's asking, I spent all this time, I typed it out really nicely, I've got all my parentheses, I press enter and it doesn't work. And now she's like, the only thing I want to change is put negatives in there on those ones. If you press second, enter, sorry, that was weird. Press second and then the enter button, it does the entry again, so it just retypes what you typed. And then it gives you a chance to adjust it, so you can use your arrows to go back and forth. And then some of your calculators might want you to do second delete in order to insert a new thing. So get to the spot that you want your negative, press second delete to get a spot for your negative. Also make sure you're using the negative, not the minus button. Every so often you panic and we use the minus button and then it'll give you an error and then you're even more panicked because you're like, I did this right. So make sure you're using the negative button. Okay, I press enter. Ugh, that doesn't work. Second, enter.
Hey, I got
again.
it this way.
Oh, you got it? What is it?
Three.
Okay, perfect. So the next one. It really should be one of the first couple that you try. 1, -1, 3, or -3. It should be one of the first ones that you try. Good. Once we found that 3 works, our next step is synthetic division.
Or.
Won't factor. Mhm.
Opposite of B. It's in the, it's not.
And I got my volume. Hopefully we're good. Yeah, this is the quadratic formula if you forgot. Go ahead and jot it down. Cause I can't factor with 23, so I'm gonna just quadratic formula this. I'm sure you could store it in your calculator. To be very honest, I just don't know how to do that. I'm sure I can learn, I just haven't. You know who probably knows how to store on the calculator is Mr. Rushka. That's the one who would know how to store.
Make sure I'm getting one.
You found a picture.
Yeah.
You can like look it up on YouTube, it's like a,
Oh, wait, learn
you
to
can like
store.
type it,
Yeah,
like you can like. Go.
yeah, you can search a lot of things. Well, again, I got kind of an ugly answer, but I'm really not worried about it because I don't have to simplify it, we're all good. You might, so it might be like, this could be like an 8 and this could have a 2 and you just have to take the 2 out. I don't know if I put anywhere you have to simplify the radical. But like, there's so many steps to this, so if like you just forget to simplify at the end, it's just like very small amount of points, everything, there's so many other things I'm looking for here.
How will we simplify the radical?
Forget the, like if this was 44, oh shoot, that was way more than I wanted to. If this was 44, you could do, okay, factors of 44 are 4 and 11. And 4 is a perfect square, so that breaks down to 2 and 11. What'd you say? Yep, good point. Which is really easy to forget, so x equals 3, and then 7 plus or minus I root 43 over 2. Well, okay, pretend that says root 43.
Okay, so I want to see, but say that if it's A B C and it starts with X to the third, would the A B C start at X to the third or X to the second?
You can't do it if there's an x to the third.
Oh, you can't?
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'm actually gonna say it's C for tomorrow, because I actually think you need to do PRRs again, that one, so just kind of hold tight on that. All right. Let's go back up on our notes, so that was enough practice, those are good ones, you will definitely see something like that on the quiz tomorrow. Okay, Friday. Yep. Okay, I don't want to fully do number 2, but I want to talk a little bit about it, okay? Do you remember, I'll make just like a little box over here. And I'll go actually backwards in my notes. Do you remember in 2.3 how you did number 3, 4, and 5 on your own? Okay. When we're talking about like let's look at number 4, it says write the equation of a polynomial with 3, -4, and 1 with multiplicity of 3 as zeros.
What question are you on?
Go back to 2.3, number 4. You watched this in a video, I think. I know, I'm really flipping you guys around today. I'm on 2.3, number 4. Or you can just write it as a little offside of your notes as where you're at. And you probably have this question filled in, don't you?
Not very well.
So I was like, I do not. Sophia's like, not very well. Jason's like, yeah, God. 1/3. Okay, let's talk about it. What's going on here is because I have, these are my zeros, okay? I want to list these as zeros. So how would I write my polynomial expression if I know 3 is a 0, -4 is a 0, 1 is a 0? What would x minus 3, good.
X plus X.
Plus 4, good. And what?
X minus two.
X minus 1. Okay, then it says one has a multiplicity of 3. Do you know what multiplicity means?
It's like,
Good, it's my exponent, it's my cube, good, so that goes with 1, because it says 1 has the multiplicity of 3. Okay. Super easy when I just have normal numbers, okay? When we have square roots, it gets a little bit harder because I have to do the positive and the negative of that square root. So if I have root 3, I also have to do negative root 3. That was a bonus on your quiz and I gave you both of those roots, but I don't have to give you both of them. If you have even just one, you have to know its conjugate also goes. So if I tell you here, write the cubic function with root 3, negative root 3, and 6 as zeros, what would we write? I should
y
X.
equals x minus x, x minus 3, x plus
good
minus
6.
something.
So we just write it in factored form like that. Okay, again, we have to do the positive and the negative version of those root 3s. Okay. Now we're gonna flip back to our notes. We're not gonna fully do problem number 2 and 5.2, but I want to just talk about what if we had i's and zeros, okay? So again, flip on back. Oh, sorry.
That's the only time you have to do both, is when you're like dealing with like the square root.
Well, I'm about to tell you, you're gonna do both with the i's as well. Yeah, so then I kind of stole my thunder. You read my mind, you knew why I looped those together because you're also gonna use 2 for the i's, okay? So like on number 2, I wrote this box, I didn't write anything in it, that's okay. It says write a polynomial function with zeros of 2i and then containing this point. We're gonna worry about containing that point later, I just don't wanna worry about that today, so ignore that for now. All I wanna do is write how would I have 2 and I both be zeros, okay? Good. Good, and then we also have to do x plus I, very good. And I do want to multiply this out, A, because you can, and B, because we never have seen it like with i's left before, right? When we've graphed polynomials, we've never had I as an option. One reason is because you can't graph an I on the graph. But we can multiply these. Let's do the 2 with i's together first, okay? So we're gonna multiply x minus I times x plus I. It's a little, feels a little like alphabet soup, but I promise it's gonna work out in a second. X times x is x squared, and I'm just gonna carry that x minus 2 down.
What do you
negative.
X times I is just xi. And then negative I times x is just negative xi. And those are gonna cancel each other out because they're the same, right?
But like, when I square one,
We haven't done I squared yet.
I know. Oh my God. Once we do it, how do you like? Never mind. Do you just always put 1 there? Like imagining 1 is just right there.
Well, because it's just I times I, if there was numbers in front, if this was like 2i and 2i, we'd multiply the 2's together. But since it's just I times I, we just have I squared. And do you guys remember what I squared is the same thing as?
Negative.
One,
Negative 1.
Negative.
but we also have a negative.
Good, yes. Very good, yes. So if it's negative, I squared is negative 1, but we're doing negative of a negative, so that means it's gonna become plus 1. So that was really messy, but it breaks down to just x squared plus 1. And then the last thing we can do is multiply these last 2 binomials together. X times x squared is x to the third. Negative 2 times x squared is negative 2x squared. And then,
Miss White, you wanna look so bad.
okay, I'm so sorry. But I kept jumping me, so I thought I was moving too slow.
Wait,
She's like, and then, and I was like, oh my. Okay, where did I lose you? Where do I need to go back to?
I missed the part where the x i's cancel out.
Oh, okay.
but I see it now.
Just hit undo. You know, it's not good. Just hit the undo button.
Okay. So you're okay that those canceled out?
Yeah.
Okay, and you're okay that negative I squared becomes positive 1?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I love when the middle numbers cancel out, it's the best. And then I'm gonna do x squared times x less, I love less to work with. I also do x squared times negative 2 to get negative 2x squared. Then we'll think about 1 times x, which is just x, and then -2 times 1 is negative.
But just leave it.
Right now, we're gonna leave it like that because we are gonna deal with containing this point tomorrow. I wanted to remind you this skill before our quiz, but I didn't wanna do the whole skill before the quiz, because I'm not quizzing you that. Friday.
Katie, would you just plug in the,
I'm not gonna assign you homework tonight because we're not gonna finish this.
for the containing, when you just plug in X and Y.
Basically, we just have like an A here, just like we did before,
Okay.
and a Y, and you'll just plug in X and Y, and then we'll solve for A at the end.
Practice like this.
I don't have a practice like that one, but
Oh, I have to give this to you.
But this, but if we didn't have like the containing, like, you know, the points, would you do like this, or can you simplify like x to the third and -2x to the second?
you're basically trying to undo what we just did. So you're trying to simplify this, you're trying to put it back like that, and we just did that. So that's what I want. Yep. Okay, let us move back. I want to go over, if we could do 1A, or sorry, we already did 1A. If we could do C and B before we're done with class, that would be awesome. If we don't get through B, I'm not gonna be stressed about that. These problems are not on your quiz tomorrow, but could be on the test coming up, and I just think it helps us practice the skill for our quiz tomorrow, okay?
Friday.
Friday. I haven't gotten tomorrow right once in this one. I just cannot pull it together. Okay. All right, let us keep moving. I've got letter C. So we're skipping B because I think C is easier. Okay, so I've got, this is my equation, and it told us one of our zeros is 4i. Now, just like we did a second ago, remember how we had I was a 0 and then we had to do its conjugate? What's the conjugate of 4i?
Negative.
-4i. So I also know that -4i is a 0.
So
That is helpful. Oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay, that is helpful.
I keep thinking that you're done talking, I'm sorry. So you can put either one of those in like the house thing?
Yes, and we're gonna put both of them in the house thing. Because if you put one in, you'll get some eyes left over, so we need to put both of them in. Ew, I know. I kind of like this double synthetic division. You can tell me if you hate it, but I kind of like it.
Well, I hate it.
Extra work.
It's so much.
It's a lot of work, but it's not that hard, right?
Yeah.
No, let me
Just-
complain a little bit.
I know you can complain, but it's not really hard. It's just a lot. Okay, don't forget to put zeros in for the x to the third because we don't have any. And then for the x, because we don't have any normal x's. So I've got 1, 0, 13, 0, 40, -48. Okay. Now, what happens here though, you can multiply 1 times 4i, that's just 4i. And when I add 0 and 4i, I just get to keep that 4i down here. That is all okay. What gets a little confusing is now I'm about to do 4i times 4i.
So it's negative.
-16, very good.
Okay, that's not
Terrible.
still annoying.
Okay, annoying. I'll give you that. So I get -3, that works. And then -3 times 4i is -12i. Again, it's okay because we're just combining it with 0, so it stays the same. And then 4i times -12i is going to be +48,
Okay, yeah.
which is good. That's what it should be. It should be 0. All right. Everybody still on the boat?
Somewhat.
Somewhat? Hanging off the back?
Hopefully. Well,
Watch follow. Okay, now we're gonna do, now if I were to write this in a polynomial expression, it would look like a mess because I've got eyes. Instead, I'm immediately gonna go do another synthetic.
I'm sorry. Okay, so when you multiply 4i times 4i, it cancels the I out, right? And then that is just be it for the I, and then we just do it only.
So it doesn't really cancel the I out, the I's. 16 times, or 4 times 4 is 16, and then I times I is I squared. And we know I squared is just negative.
Break it
The thing, we see two, I just keep adding a negative.
up. Okay, so after that, I won't have to do anything else with the I after I'm done with that?
Okay, well, let's do -4i. Because right now this looks messy. I don't know if I could synthetically divide or if I could do factoring or anything with all these i's. So instead I'm gonna do -4i and I'm just gonna put that house right next to that line. We're just gonna stack them right on top of each other.
Ew.
Uh-huh. I'm having so much fun today.
What?
Yeah.
With the negative.
Do you remember down here when we did positive I, we had to do negative I as well?
Wait, so I
Same
would,
thing
Oh,
up
I
here.
get it, okay.
Okay, you know what?
I wouldn't have
Mildly
to-
satisfying
I would
now,
agree.
'cause I just did the
You
second.
did -4i with the answers you just got.
Would you say?
You did the -4i with the answers.
With the answers we just got?
too intense.
No, it's not. You got it.
Pressure.
Lily, if you do the second motion, the 4i and your answer gets cut off with the negative 4i.
There's a lot of canceling we're about to do, so buckle up,
Very
guys.
satisfying.
Very satisfying. Okay, so I do bring down the 1. 1 times -4i is -4i. Oh, and then 4i and -4i cancel and I get 0. Amazing. 0 times anything is still 0, so that -3 comes through. And then
Oh, Miss Like, I got it.
you,
I
Yeah,
got it.
it's satisfying.
I got it. I got it. I got it.
Is there?
you got it. No, we've done synthetic division twice, so we started with x to the 4th, and we're gonna go down not just 1 level, but 2 levels, so the next line, this is gonna be. No, so we've already done, it's just gonna be x squared minus 3. I just wanna make sure that you have your exponents right, it was an x to the 4th, this brought it down to x to the 3rd, this brings it down to x squared. And I don't have any x terms, so it's 0. Now, this is where I would say, let's factor, let's quadratic formula. You don't actually need to factor or quadratic formula. Can you just solve this for x? Yeah. Add 3 to both sides. Square root. Good. And I like that you put plus or minus.
They're not sorry.
It's okay, we're gonna get today. All right, we have about 10 minutes. I think we can look at the next one. Let's go backwards to B.
Speed round.
If this blew your mind, this next one's gonna blow your mind a little bit too. I know. Yep, we just found the zeros and we found them.
I, and then 0, or, okay.
Just equal, those are my zeros. So next,
Negative
So
one,
it's like
nine.
right amount, you know what I mean?
yeah, you don't have to do anything. I just think it's nice to keep it all contained.
Oh my lord.
Together.
Oh,
Yeah, it's because we use that.
oh, thank you.
Who doesn't count? Well,
In the box, it's always an A.
Always a 0. Always an X. All right, shall we do the next one?
No.
Yes, we shall.
You said yes.
It's just a lot of work that I don't really want to do.
Zero problem. Oh, no, because it's a remainder, that just means it factors that way. Yeah.
We already have 4 answers in the plus.
Oh, I love that you brought that up.
Relates with the 4,
Big
so we
brain.
good,
Big brain,
we good.
thank you. Yeah.
So,
It's like the one thing Mr. Rich.
is that one thing Mr. Rush did you remember?
Yeah.
So whatever the exponent is, is how many zeros you should have. So I have 4i, -4i, positive √3, negative √3, and I have an exponent of 4. That's the same as the one up here. It was x to the 3rd, and my 3 answers are 2 and 1 and 3. That happens every time.
Anyways, perfect.
All right.
It's -1 minus I.
1 minus I.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna get into B. This is gonna blow your mind a little bit more, but stay with me. You have no homework tonight.
No mas.
No, you have no homework tonight, so we're gonna do this problem. Okay.
Bro.
Cause we've just been on one this whole time, but it's okay, stay with me.
We all lost our brains.
Okay, what is my? Stay with me, stay with me.
Someone's looking at my. phone.
What's my conjugate for this one?
Why would the
One plus.
Okay.
1 plus I is my answer, so what's my conjugate?
Oh, is it negative,
Minus that.
yeah,
It's,
wait.
the way conjugates work is you only change the sign of the I, or you
Okay.
only change the sign of the square root, you don't change the sign of the other number. Stay with me, stay with me.
Wait, hold on. Write it out.
Say what? I'm in part B, go backwards the page,
That's-
I think.
Wait, I don't know the wrong thing. We just put like.
One plus
Wait,
I
it's
and
fine.
Okay, you found me, okay. Did everyone find where I'm at? I'm sorry, I'm jumping today. Okay, now we're gonna do synthetic division with this 1 plus I, and I will tell you, you're gonna need a fair amount of space on this one. So I'm gonna put 1 plus I in my box, and then I'm gonna put 1, -2, -1, 6, -6. See how I kind of gave myself a little bit of space on this?
Oh,
It's because I'm multiplying by a binomial, not just a number. Okay, so let's bring down that 1. I'm gonna bring that 1 down and multiply it by 1 plus I. Okay, well, 1 times anything is itself, so I'm gonna now write 1 plus I up here. But notice that I stacked the 2 real numbers together and I put I kind of off by itself. You cannot combine that -2 with the I, but you can combine it with that -1, so or that +1. It'll be 1 plus I.
Would it be negative one?
Sorry, -1, my fault.
That's my man.
Thank you so much. Okay, now we have to multiply -1 plus I times 1 plus I to figure out what goes here. Now, I know we're all gonna get mad, but I promise it's gonna be one number. It's gonna be one number, okay? So let's go do it. I'll do it in a different color. 1 plus I times -1 plus I. So 1 times -1 is -1, 1 times I is I, 1 times -1 is -I, and then I times I is plus I squared. So my I's cancel, and what's I squared the same thing as? -1, so I have -1 minus 1 is -2. I know that was taxing, but do you see how we just got one number from it?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Tax, about tax.
Did I use that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Surprise. Very
Surprise.
That
That
will.
will.
I know you're not.
Wow.
It's gonna be 3 plus 3. No.
Multiply, so I got -3, so multiply -3 times 1 plus I, so it'll be -3 minus 3I. And again, see how I kind of lined it up nicely? I've got that -3 under the 6, so 6 minus 3 is 3 times -3I. And then now, just like we did a second ago, we're gonna multiply 1 plus I times 3 minus 3I. You're gonna be doing great. Give my regards to your English. So I get 3 minus 3I plus 3I minus 3I squared. So those cancel, and then this -3I squared becomes a +3. So I got 3 plus 3, which is 6. Which is great, because I've got a -6 up there.
That's what we did.
And we're gonna do it again. Now, this next time is easier, I promise you, okay? Because a lot of it's gonna cancel. Okay? Now take your 1 minus I, put that in the house, and we're gonna do that. Okay, so bring that 1 down, 1 times anything is just itself, so I'll have 1 minus I. And it cancels all the way out. -1 and 1 cancel, I and negative I cancel, so I get 0. 0 times anything is just 0. So I'm left with that -3 again. And then -3 times 1 minus I is -3 plus 3I, which cancels all over again, which is 0, which is what I want as my remainder. Now, the very last step I need to do is what? Good, make it a polynomial, x squared minus 3. And then can you solve for x? Yeah, it's exactly like we did last time. I didn't mean for those to be the same, but they just happen to be. So I get x squared equals 3, so x equals plus or minus root 3.
Would it not be,
Don't forget the 1 plus I.
Would it not be x cubed? We started with x to the 4th and we synthetically divided twice, so we go down 2 levels. Yes, okay.
X equals 1 plus or minus 5.
I guess, yeah,
Okay.
don't forget my other zeros, good, so
Yes.
I'm gonna go all the way back and do 1 plus I, 1 minus I, plus or minus root 3. And as you see, we had a cubic function and we got 4 zeros, which is exactly what we want.
That's
so
why.
I needed to give it to you.
Ooh, okay,
We hit the 0 right there, like after we go through it, for the second time,
yeah,
then, no, that's 0. It's not matter. No, 1 0 up there, like -3.
that one?
No.
This one?
Go back to the.
Oh my God. This one right here?
The one next.
Oh, the one in the middle, this one.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a lot of zeros on the screen.
Okay.
Okay.
That one doesn't matter, that's why you just jump down for the x squared.
Because that would just be 0x and I don't need to write that. All right, guys, you did awesome. That's it for today. Whew.